Yes. Welcome to the Board of Library Trustees meeting, Monday, September 15th, 2025. I'll call this meeting to order at 7:03. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Now I'll ask the library board director to proceed.
Chairperson Kristen Higaki,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Kuldeep Ambasta,
Present.
Board Member Eric Nerling,
Present.
Board Member Sharon Sue,
Present.
Board Member Barbara Wiesen Bear.
Present. Approval of minutes. Minutes for the August 18th, 2025 meeting have been delivered to board members. If there are no corrections or additions, a motion is in order to approve these minutes. Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Anybody on the line? Just checking.
Chair Higaki,
Approved.
Vice Chair Ambasta,
Approved.
Board Member Nerling,
Approved.
Board Member Sue,
Approved.
Board Member Wiesen Bear.
Approved. Skip the oral communications since there's nobody here. And there's no donations, no presentations, and no unfinished business. So we will move on to the fiscal year 2024-25 library performance measures. Great.
Screech just went. Like, ooh. Oh, litigation.
Let me see if I can share.
Yeah, sure. We'll try that. Okay, so performance measures, as you know, last year, the city, all of the city departments did a regroup of performance measures, and the city hired a consultant to work with all the departments. So this is the first year with a full year of data with our performance measures. I'll just go through some of them briefly. That's to give some information. So the total number of visits, 355,000 this past fiscal year. That is up about 10,000. Last year was about 344,000. So our visitors did increase by about 10,000. And then total circulation, our total circulation, 1.375 million items. So our total last year was 1.373, so up about 2,000 more items. And then physical items did decrease. The physical items decreased by about 10,000. And then electronic items, digital materials increased by about 10,000. So our overall total collection increased from, or actually decreased by about 2,000 items. But our digital continues to increase every year by between 10 and 20,000 items. And then it's been a trend for the last several years. And before the pandemic, physical materials has been going down, which here we look at children's materials has gone up probably 40% or more of our collection in physical items is children's materials. And so it's mostly adult physical items that go down and mostly adult digital items that go up, which is just the trend of people using their iPads, their phones to read and check out items on some of our different digital collections. And then Hoopla increased by, just to give you a little more detailed data, Hoopla went up a little and Overdrive items stayed about the same. So nothing struck staff as anything contrary to what typical trends in the public libraries these days are for that. Any questions on physical materials?
I just had a general question that maybe you'll touch upon. But I did notice when I looked at this earlier today that the targets for 24-25 and the targets for 25-26 are the same. And, logically, it kind of makes sense. Obviously, you want expenditures to be less than 100%. So I understand that. But like for some of the other ones, like the 20,000 total number of programs and, other things on the other page, is there a reason why you wouldn't want to maybe slightly up that or revise it in certain ways?
Yeah.
One year to the next?
Sure.
Just a general question. Again.
Yeah, so the actual expenditures that our consultant said is pretty much that same target for all of the departments. And then the number of new, and I'll answer some of the other questions when we get to it for the 100%. And then total library programs, we exceeded about 34,000 total attendees, which is up from about 25,000 last year. So almost 10,000 more attendees at programs. I think a lot of that is because we've still had vacancies last year of librarians, but I think our marketing push to get the word out of different programs, our summer reading, the librarians went to the schools and really hyped up summer reading. So I think a lot of our summer reading programs, both adult and youth, exceeded. Some of our children's programs outside were 300 to 400. I think one of our highest was over 400. And then even some of our adult programs, a lot on the science level, we had a few NASA programs and we'd have like 50 to 60 people attend. So I think it's just the librarians are really hitting they're trying different topics and just really hitting what the community is interested in. So I think that's some of it. And then this is the first time we've ever broken down, so you all in the community could see what kind of programs we have. So we've broken down by authors, early childhood literacy, finance and economic vitality programs, health and wellness, and these are also broken down just so that we can keep track of what we're doing and meeting the strategic priorities of city council as well. For instance, multicultural programs, and we had 58 programs related to that. And then one of the strategic priorities of city council, sustainability. So in 4G, you'll see we had 53 programs related to sustainability and livability, and almost 8,000 people attending. For example, I know we had a lot of the gardener programs, and we had a program with the soil, and they brought the worms in, and then even the plant exchange we did twice this year, which is usually annually, but we did that twice this year. And then the H was the number of tours and class visits, so we just wanted to capture that, and that's adult school we've had here, as well as some of the younger classrooms coming. And then the new items received and put into circulation within 10 days of receipt. That was the one that was the lowest at about 72%. And there's a couple things about that. We're training additional staff to be able to do the cataloging of the materials. So this is basically when the box arrives, and it's unpacked, it's received, and between that moment where it reaches the shelf. So that was a little low. And I think there's anecdotally, I tend to walk around every day and I look in our receiving room, and some days we'll receive 3 boxes from a vendor, and some days we'll get 15 or 12 or 20. So if there's a day we get 20, all of those are being unboxed and received at the same time. So there's a lot more to have to do. So that's going to take longer. So, and that depends on, the publishing, is the vendor waiting to send a big chunk at one time? What's their staff level? Are they having staff turnover? Are we waiting on them? So there's all kinds of factors, but we are this month, I think Anne is having some of the staff are doing some online trainings to be able to do more cataloging. So when we get a backlog, there's more people to be able to jump in and do that, which we've done before in the past to get that up. So not too concerned about that, and hopefully the training will help with that. And then the number of items returned and available for checkout within a business day. And I don't know, Coldeep, but this is one. So this is at 100%. And it's usually because if an item gets turned in, it is available to check out. It may not be on the shelf, but often someone will come up to the desk and say, this wasn't on the shelf, and then it's in the bag. It
Yeah.
might be on a cart to be shelved.
So it can
or
be
it's
found.
like yeah. So that's why with as soon as something goes through the return system, it's already checked in, so it's available. So yeah, sometimes people are very fast and they get here. Sometimes people are very fast with their holds, that they'll come and it's not on the shelf, and it's on a cart that's about to be brought out. So we recognize that a lot that happens. So people are watching their holds. And then number of card holders, we have about 63,000 active card holders. And that's about comparable. We do, if card holders, just to clean up our system and not have too much data in it. If a card hasn't been used for 3 years, we do purge those records. And just to keep good record keeping and not to have more data than we need. And then the new card holders added, we did add about 13% more card holders this year than last. So a lot of people are still coming. A lot of people are coming here from a lot of different areas to use the study rooms. I sometimes in the customer service area, if I'm walking around, someone will ask me how to get a card and I just ask them. I'm always curious. Oh, are you from out? One gentleman I directed to where to get the card said he was from San Francisco and he came all the way. He was here, or maybe he was here for business, but he wanted to use a study room. So,
Tracy, on,
yeah.
on that, you said you purge after 3 years of non-use. Do you have any idea of how many of these new cards are people getting a card again? That have had prior cards?
Yeah, that's a good question. Since we purged, we can't really tell, so we don't know if it's when it's just been active.
Yeah, anecdotally,
Yeah.
people at the desk saying, but I
And-
had a card, what happened?
Yeah, and that does happen sometimes where we have had people that come in and they're like, oh, I haven't been here in several years. I don't know if my card is still active, and we'll check. So
Right.
that does happen. Yeah.
I didn't know with COVID how much that might have given you a bump if people didn't use their cards for a while.
Yeah, after COVID, we did extend everything just to give so that we weren't, we waited to purge because we figured that. So we did add that in when we were coming back into normal operations. Yeah.
And then when you say it hasn't been used in 3 years, I'm assuming that that's kind of a broad term because I, for example, mainly use my card for online services, right? So
Right.
that's one form of use versus physical checkouts versus other things, right?
Right.
So it's a broad definition. It's just
Right.
been used anytime. Last
Right.
2 years. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Can I ask why, we don't have targets for workloads? Or, like, some of these I feel like we might be interested in having a target versus just reporting. Like, number of visits or physical items in circulation, right? Like, I get that it's I guess you're accounting for how much work it is. I'm trying to actually understand.
But there were targets for them before the big revamp. So 2 years ago, they were targeted for number of visits, total
Yeah,
circulation. things like that.
yeah, I vaguely remember that, but then here it looks like there's only performance that has targets on here, so I'm
Mhm.
curious.
Right. So for example, measure 2, so total number of visits is when we met with the consultant, it was basically they asked us all the questions for each one. So this this measure is here so that you can use that to go to the city manager, city council and say, we need additional staff because this measure has increased, et cetera. So for us, number of visits is workload. So number of visits is going up 10,000 a year.
Mhm.
So that is something, if it's budget season and we're saying we need additional staff because it's busy, and we can say the number of visits have gone up, we could go back for 3 years and say it's gone up 10,000 in the last 3 years. This is putting a strain on staff. We typically have one person at the service desk. We now need two, or during lunch and dinner hours or something like that. So we could use, so that's what that workload.
Is the difference between performance and workload, like performance is stuff that's more under control and workload maybe isn't, like number of visits, circulation maybe is not in your control, so it's more the workload. I'm curious, like if that, if that's the difference?
Yeah, I think Or was in our meeting, from what I recall, we worded it so that workload was tied to something that like was staffing related and performance.
It looks like
Because it could
performance.
be workload too.
Yeah. performance
Anything,
is the only thing with targets, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, so I think you mainly answered my question about what I was asking before, my general question. But if we look at total number of programs, the 20,000 goal, and then, in the middle, you have 34,000 that actually happened.
Right.
So am I to understand maybe that 20,000 is kind of like the minimum viable and we overshot at the moment and it's expected to come down, or could you
Yeah.
maybe adjust 20,000 to 25,000 for the next target, or kind of what's the thought process?
Yeah, and I think too with performance is, and some of them don't, some of the workloads don't have targets. Like number of visits, we could say our target is we want to increase visits by X amount for the purpose of, but we're not really at that point of saying that. It's sort of, if we wanted to increase, we'd have to have, us do the SMART goals and why we're doing that, why we would want to increase, the visits,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. We'd have to get in more detail.
Okay.
So when we did this,
It was kind of just setting the stage as opposed to
Right.
delving deeper into like the SMART framework.
right,
Okay,
right.
that's fair.
So one of our goals for, say, next fiscal year, we could say, when city council redoes their work plan and redoes um, their goal setting, if there's anything that we need to attach to, like one of them could be the 4G, the number of sustainability and livability programs. We might look to our staff and say, let's try to increase this by X% because it is one of the big goals of the city, or what other that we could do. But this is definitely something that the staff can look at to say, do we have specific targets for each?
I think even if you didn't have targets, what would be really helpful to help analyze trends is if you showed the actuals for the prior year. and
Right,
some-
right, yeah.
what- How things have shifted.
Yeah,
I pulled that up from last year's meeting, so.
yeah.
So you do your own.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
just not, like, I just can't do this.
I should have included it. Did pull some of the specific numbers, like all the ones in 4. The specifics we didn't have last year because we weren't tracking, number of health programs in this. But next year we'll be able to look at and see that and then go from there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we were on card holders, number 7. And then the percentage did go up. And then the study rooms, so we'll be able to also look at next year, the study rooms, they were in use 69% of the time. So that's a good one for next year. If we start to see that go up, or it's starting to get to close to 100, that's gonna mean, we might look at adding additional study rooms, and so forth, or reducing the number of hours people can use them, something like that. We did have that number, over the last few years, and it's been about, I think between 50 and 70%, but actually about 60 to 70%. So that's been consistent.
Do you think for that one, it would be helpful to add like the amount of percent of hours where they were fully booked? Because I definitely think there's gonna be times when there's, like there's lulls and then there's the.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, fair point.
And then the bookmobile operation, since we've just in the last year with our new bookmobile, it's kind of a fresh start of looking at our hours of operation. We did extend one additional day this year and trying different stops. So this will help us going forward with our regular stops and our programs that we offer and so forth. And then same with the homebound clients and our total deliveries. And we're trying to market our homebound service. One of the ways we've done this is we put flyers at El Camino Hospital, at the different senior centers, and just trying to market the homebound, so that those that could benefit from it will take advantage of that. And then the number of community events with library representation is, and this is a workload because we can't go to everything, and a lot of the big city events are on Saturdays, but we're also very busy on Saturdays and have programs. So, you know, if the community services department wants us at the Monster Bash for Halloween event, you know, we want to go there and want to participate and have a table or the bookmobile, but if it's a Saturday, we're already, you know, our weekend staff, we don't have everybody on here on a Saturday. So what we can do for that.
Tracy, would that be anything you could use friends or volunteers for to have a presence?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I know we have been sending regular staff as well as hourly staff. And we're still building our volunteer base, but that's a great idea of maybe it's volunteers that would want to go. And I think at some of the summer events, I don't know, I don't think we sent the teen volunteers that we had. But sometimes we'll have a craft like for Monster Bash and it's a huge event. So that's a great idea of trying to get volunteers that will help. Because I know the Friends have a table at some of our events and they have their volunteers.
And I don't know if the high schools are still doing it. They used to come in and need community service hours.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it might be something too, that if you need to market for volunteers or get a core through the teen area,
Right.
that you could say, this could be applied to your, you know, service.
Center requirement.
Right. And we could also ask the teen center, the staff at recreation, if, you know, some of their teens at the teen center, that if they can't use all their volunteers at some of the events, if they have any left, you know, extra volunteers, that's a great idea. And then 12 is the number of subscribers to our newsletter. So this is an that you're automatically opted in. So when you sign up for a library card, we automatically send you a welcome letter and you're subscribed to our monthly newsletter. You have to opt out. And then it's gone up, it looks like about 31%. And the percentage of newsletter open is 39. And then it looks like ours is a little more than the average for government entities open. So we want that over 40%. So we were just a little under. So hoping people will, and we're trying to come up. We had a summer intern work with Katie, our communication librarian, who came to present. And she had a great intern this summer who came up with some social media ideas and marketing ideas. And so the staff are trying to come up with some more engagement pieces for social media and for our newsletter to to get that up. So, yeah,
And what is that percentage across all government entities? Like maybe 10-20%?
I think I think
Yeah.
it's pretty low in government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would feel
Yeah.
How did we get over 40% as a goal?
Ours hovered around, I think last year and this year, about 35, 36%. And so, we knew ours, people were opening them and, they just thought our newsletter was, worthy of opening. I think we were going past the goal of government. We thought, library information is more exciting than regular, information of the government. I'd love to get it to higher for sure.
Yeah, I just thought that was a very ambitious goal, so I was
Yeah.
curious how
Yeah.
the number was determined. Great.
And then the number of Ask Mountain View queries, it's 21, and this was for all departments. So ours is one of the lowest because we have our own contact us page that people add in, but most of our information is on our website. And yeah, I think Public Works probably gets the most Ask Mountain View queries about, things.
Or the police department.
Or police department, right? So overall, another busy year. Our usage is continuing. The door counts are continuing. We're still, probably the busiest city building and, yeah.
In general, are there areas where you would like to focus on building more now that you filled some staff positions and?
Yeah, so as you saw, I'll jump into the year in review that you all got. So if you saw it on that, our teen programs was, we increased our teen program and engagement quite a bit. And so that was one of our goals, for this past year, but we want to increase that even more so. We, do still have two librarian vacancies, one in youth, one in adult. And so we're hoping once we get that filled, we'll be able to enhance even more teen programs. But that's an area we want to really keep focus on in the youth division. And then for the adult division, some of the areas to continue the Career Online High School and then the stipend program, because the city council approved funding again this year for the stipend. So right now, all of our the licenses we have everyone in the program so far. And so once people complete, we'll be able to get additional folks in the program, but we want to continue that. And then the literacy program, which the adult learners program, focusing on that. And then we had the summer intern who did an assessment of makerspace and craft and creative. And so the staff wrote a grant for materials, 3D printers, things like that, to do a portable makerspace, which we won't be building anything, but probably something portable that we could have in this room or the other programming room. And so that is a focus. So definitely the programs, and then continuing obviously with story times and parenting and educational programs, and with the bookmobile, trying to the new stops and reaching the schools, the after schools. And then one of the most attended stops is Google's a big stop, and then the new Magical Bridge Playground in Rangsdorf Park. So we've been doing story time there, and that's super well attended, and just received a lot of good feedback from the folks that have attended that. So yeah, those are some of our areas for this year. And then, yeah, just maintaining the facility, keeping it clean and tidy,
Just keeping up everything.
keeping up with, yeah, the wear and tear. And then the librarians have a quarterly meeting to look at our collections. And so I know in youth, they pulled all the read-along books because people were coming in and they just wanted the read-alongs, and they were cataloged in different areas. So we pulled all those and put them in one place. And I think we've added some funds, moved some funds around to increase that collection because it was very popular. So just looking at those collections, the librarians and managers and I meet quarterly and look at our statistics, look at the trends with digital versus print. And then it's usually in the spring, we'll look at, do we need to move funds to where there's a high demand and that kind of thing. And then they're continuing to look at any new digital resources. As you know, we got Press Reader this past year that has all the online newspapers and magazines. So the staff are always going to conferences, or we get something from a vendor and, you know, with the new products. So we're always looking at the new products and services out there that we think maybe we try it for a year and see. But Press Reader, I think so far it's getting a lot of usage with that one.
How have your foreign language collections done?
You know, the foreign language collections and the adult, they're not circulating too much. Some of the youth are circulating a little more, some of the multicultural or the dual language, but yeah, not as much. Sometimes it's we get requests that they want to although we've gotten a few trying to think what recently we talked about. I can pull the stats, but it's not a huge amount, but somewhat steady. I think in the youth, there's some requests. I want to say Japanese. We've been ordering some, and some Hindi books in adult too. We've added a few.
Sometimes it was driven by the elder, when we would get a wave,
Yeah.
elders that would come in to live with families. It would sometimes
Right.
drive up those areas, and the children's also would sort of be in parallel with that. But we went through waves of when we had we went of the Russian population out of the post-Soviet Union era. We had a big bump in
Okay.
demand for Russian, and Spanish had grown sort of steadily, and then suddenly we had Chinese with a huge
Yeah.
demand, and then we'd always get a few random ones like, do you have books in Norwegian? And we'd have to go, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not a big
Yeah, the
collection.
staff definitely move, and the good thing is our collection is it's not stagnant, it's always moving. And if there's a community that's all of a sudden that they're asking for this, then the staff let us know, and so we add funds, move funds around.
This is one of the toughest collections to manage, because the products that you could select from at times were very difficult to either access, or the bindings weren't good. Weren't up to par. And when I left, we were using a vendor, I think, that specialized in some of the areas, but for a long time, it was very hard to figure out how to buy in those collections and meet demand.
Yeah.
And then when things came in a language where none of the staff could read it, trying to make sure you could catalog that, and was it a material that had cataloging available was always because people wanted to sometimes give us things that they had brought over when they had arrived and didn't need children's things, but we looked at them and nobody could make heads or tails of how to put them back into the collection. So
Yeah,
it was a complicated one to deal with.
it's still the most difficult and complicated for all those same reasons, isn't that?
Things haven't changed.
No, and there's a regional group that meets, I think it's maybe once or twice a year, of librarians that meet specifically to talk about world languages and
Right, and you still share among the libraries which ones have the bigger collections of,
yeah.
because we used to be able to refer to Cupertino or to San Jose.
Right. It's like a
Right.
network.
You know, and just say, we don't have as much, but if you want to go to a library that has more, you go here.
Yeah.
Well, one of the nice things in recent years is the translation tools have gotten a lot more sophisticated. Like I've even seen on smartphones that you can wave your phone over a page and it'll translate to English.
Mhm.
So like you don't need like native fluency in a certain language, foreign language. So that hopefully should help going forward.
Do you ever work with the friends on, like, if you guys have areas of your catalog that you would like, do you like have a list where they know and they could just give it to you? From their donations, because she was talking about, like sometimes it's hard to get books.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know we've shared lists with each other, but I'll have to double check how up to date that is
Yeah.
of what they get. And I know we always ask them what they want to, but I'll be sure they meet this Wednesday. So I'll talk to them about that.
I was at this
Sounds a good idea.
library sale and I ran into somebody that I know, and then he just showed me this book and he's like, I can't believe this book is here. This should be in a library. It's like so hard to get. And she's like, I just have to get it because
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, people
Yeah.
tell me stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
When there's book sales. Like for
Yeah.
all the local book sales, not just Mountain View, but
Yeah.
like Palo Alto and elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, we used to have staff that rated theirs first, so I think we've lost that.
Somebody
Yeah.
has to pass through all of the donations first and say, this could go into the library collection, this,
right.
and it took a fair amount of time, and it took
I could see it
somebody
take a lot of time.
knowledgeable of that collection
whole-
to
yeah,
be able
what
to
you
do
need.
it quickly. And depending on the way the buying was divided up various times due to staffing, you didn't have somebody who had the full broad collection. They might know, they might be buying adult fiction and could do all of that, but they wouldn't know any of the nonfiction. So you had to have multiple people that would assess in that area. But I know you buy differently these days than
Yeah.
we used to have set sections that we were responsible for.
Yeah. It's pretty similar. Yeah, the different librarians have their different sections, so that they get familiar and good with that.
So when a book says, a gift from the Friends of the Library, has it been purchased from the budget that the Friends have donated to the various departments, or are the Friends like actually purchasing from a list?
No, they give a dollar amount, and so the staff are ordering those. And then we'll put the sticker on that says this was purchased with money from the Friends. But yes, the staff are purchasing them.
Because I would think that the lobby display now, and a lot of people would be able to see that more exposure for the Friends of the Library.
Yeah. I think I think between that and their marketing and our help with marketing the Friends, they're definitely, I think their last book sale, and they'll be here at the next board meeting to
Okay.
give, their, president a presentation. But yeah, I think um, they're doing pretty well, and yeah. Even just moving the quarter racer from the children's room to the outside their lobby shop,
Yeah.
it's always has coins in it now. And so,
I love it.
yeah, they liked it in the children's because it's for kids, but every time I go by, I'm like, they need to empty it. It's getting full. So people probably are
It's not just for
spending or
kids.
entering their pockets. Yeah, so.
Yeah, whatever loose change.
Yeah, or they get.
I have noticed that too.
Yeah.
It's usually quite
Yeah,
hot to the bottom.
yeah, so that's been, a good spot, even just that. So just the small changes can make big improvements for sure. But that's one of them. One other thing, related to one of our goals is just as winter is coming, people are coming indoors and looking for space. So we're always looking for adding tables and seating. And so the staff are currently reviewing some of our collections, our reference collection, um, and just looking at shelving and space. Will we need to shift some of our collections to make room for tables and seating, because that's been something that I think's been increasing over the last several years. I remember when we put the 3 tables right outside here, the History Center, the morning the tables were put up, we opened at 10, they were already occupied. Like people found them. Like we just put these here. It used to be shelving there. So that space is gonna be something. So we're looking at that closely.
This reminds me, I remember that the library is one of the official cooling centers. Do you report those numbers to the city? Like just the people who are actively sitting in maybe one of the program rooms.
Right. So, the city doesn't, so there's several cooling centers in the city, or warming centers, us community center, and the police and fire admin building are the 3 that I know of. I know on trying to think, I don't think we've submitted those, but that's something that maybe on those days, at least our door count to see how much higher, because as you know, there's been occasions where the power's been out in Mountain View and our numbers, a couple years
be a
ago,
spike,
there was a
yeah.
day that was like 3,000
I remember
or
that,
something crazy. Everything, we had that extension cord, every room was used. I think we even opened the History Center. So that's something, yeah, that we should have as a measure, because yeah, those days
I'm
are.
thinking too, do you have enough that would make a difference or not of things like your health emergencies, the things that the staff deal with that don't get into that
Yeah.
workload
Yeah.
element? And it might even include the security or police interactions,
Yeah.
because those can take up a considerable amount of staff time, but they may not be reflected in the big picture to
Right.
council of what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot of operational, yeah, something happens, and yeah, around the city, whether it's the heat, like this week, I think we got a notice that we may be considered our emergency operations coordinator is looking closely at the weather this week. Because if it's over, I think 90, then it's alerted to.
Yeah, tomorrow's supposed to be the hot day,
Yeah.
and then up but slightly taper at the end of the week.
Yeah.
You know, we want you to get credit for all that you're doing,
Yeah.
and often those things slide under the radar.
Right, yeah. And cooling centers, power centers, those are all increasing as we have different storms and, yeah, all of that. These are all great ideas for us to track too. And then the year in review, just, we like to put this out, our colorful, celebration of the past year. And then, we recently sent this to city council and then it'll be on our website and it just has some of the same information.
Also how much the library does.
Yeah.
We talk about it like bit by bit throughout the year, and then you see it all, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's a
it's
lot.
nice to see.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
The amount of programs.
Yeah.
The diversity that you guys.
it's a busy place for sure. I know, I was somewhere recently, I can't remember, and someone, oh, what do you do? I said, I'm a librarian. Oh, library, people still go to libraries? And I was like, I said, we get 900 a day in ours. Yes. Certainly.
Scroll through this.
Sure. And there's where our teen attendance, yeah, really went up. I was most excited about that, I think, because we've, yeah, been wanting to increase teen programs for quite some time.
A random question there. I saw on one of the photos in the teen section, there's an intro session to Dungeons and Dragons. Have you found that, programs like or games like Dungeons and Dragons, probably Settlers of Catan, things like that have kind of driven quite a bit of interest, or is it something else maybe?
Yeah, I that's been really well attended. All of the programs we've had, and I think there might be another one this weekend. There was a Super Mario Brothers, I think it was the contest or something, the gaming, and I don't know who was having more fun, the kids or the parents watching, because yeah, and then same with the craft programs, when I walk in, Friday afternoon we'll have, and they're creating something and the adults, are with, the kids are doing it and the adults are, either with their kid doing it, but they're just as into it and I think there's that craving, which is why we're wanting to expand more arts and crafts and tactile programs. But yeah, all those kinds of engagement, getting kids and teens and adults off the computers for a while and having that in person, in IRL, in real life, as they say, events and things to do. But yeah.
We used to have a Saturday morning craft program that followed the story time, so there was always a craft
Yeah.
that was put out every time. And it got to be the point where we had to say that the chairs, the little tiny chairs were for children because the adults would sit down next to their child. And so many of them wanted to even do things that were just a coloring page.
Yeah.
And the mom or dad or grandma, whoever was with them would sit down and want to have one as well. And so I think there are lots of opportunities to do things that are relatively inexpensive and don't take a lot of supervision by staff, but just space and a place that's safe and quiet. And we've got all of these units going up in the city, and they don't offer much space if you end up in them with a child. And I mean, it used to be the library would notice these influx every time we had the units built over here at the end of the street. When those went in, we suddenly had all sorts of, and they say, you know, we just have to get out of the house and we have to come and do something. So I was wondering if you have any heads up the new buildings and the increases in population, the demographics that you've got, and are you seeing, you know, more that people are in spaces that are, you know, somewhat smaller than a single family home that are coming to the library and utilizing the space because it gives them more space and change of place.
I think it's change of scenery for both families, but individuals who might be working from home, but don't want to be at home or need a different place or, you know, you know, a quieter place than a Starbucks or a coffee shop. There will be lot 12, which is the parking lot across, directly across from CPA. From here, it's this way. So on Mercy or on, yeah, Mercy, that surface lot is going to be developed into affordable housing project. And I just got an update that probably maybe by the end of the year, it'll be gated off. And so it'll take probably a couple of years to build, but we're anticipating definitely being that close to here is an increase in usage of the
Plus
library.
using the parking.
Yeah, we'll be losing the parking. Yeah, which is unfortunate, but yeah, so we'll be anticipating that there's a new building off Shoreline on the corner of Shoreline. I forget the cross street. There's the Safeway parking lot. It's like a 5-story unit that's being built that I think is supposed to be done by spring. So just because of the proximity here, but yeah, citywide, we're talking about growth and population.
Does this tie into the presentation about when they were looking at the mapping for where to send the bookmobile?
Right.
Is that-
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was that this past year? I can't remember.
Yeah.
We definitely did
They
a
did
session, I
that.
just don't remember exactly which one.
They're looking
Yeah,
at,
that
you know,
was.
the types of housing,
Yeah.
where the
Where to add
schools.
stops or what
Yeah.
would be needed.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
be able to use that data for, yeah, for as long as it gets updated. the fall.
Given that the census is usually only 10 years,
Right.
hopefully you've got some internal local sources that can
Yeah.
give you some numbers in between those times that
Yeah.
things change.
JC, I just want to say this was so such a pleasure to read.
Mhm.
I was seeing all of the things that we've talked about, like even the telescopes.
Yeah.
and The History Center,
right.
and Magical Bridge.
Yeah.
So, and it's Also kind of fun to see the New York Times usage of games go up.
Yeah.
One of our highest usage of games, New York Times games. It is pretty interesting. I have a recent, let me see our website stats. So highest visits are our account page, which is great, library account, and then New York Times, digital library, get a library card, borrow, and then hours and locations, reserve a study room, and then magazines and newspapers. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I also think that we're seeing such, the effects of all the thoughtful research that the staff has done, like from like the team vibe check. And I'm remembering too, I think, was it Annika that said that she was talking to maybe some of the Saratoga librarians about Dungeons and Dragons and researching like how they pulled it off. And so I just see all of that kind of here.
Yeah,
I was really thankful to, if you could convey our thanks to the
I
staff.
will, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
I will absolutely. Yeah, Annika, I think the one dungeons, it was like 15 or so people, which she thought was, and people just there to watch too but yeah, they're the staff are putting a lot of care and time and research. I know for the makerspace, they visited a couple different libraries. For the lactation pod, the staff visited different libraries and did their research. So, yeah, everybody puts a lot of care and thought into everything they do, and I will convey that for sure.
Are there still some, staff, I guess, self-care programs, like when was it the retired police dog that came through?
Yes, yes. The city does a lot of great programs. Last year we had puppies that for the city that came that you could just sit in a little area with puppies jumping all over you. So there are several our human resources department puts a lot of great classes, workshops, even an hour. I think there's one tomorrow on healthy habits and um, stress relief. And they have folks from Kaiser often in our employee assistance program that does, an hour webinar and so forth. So yeah. It's right. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can move on to. Director's voice.
Oh, yeah. I know. There is just one thing I wanted to add about on the director's report, because it did have our summer reading statistics. So our summer reading stats, the children's registration went up 19% from last year and the completions by 17%. And the price distribution by 50-some%. So that was exciting. And the teens went up by 17%. Yay, registrations and 11% completing. The adults went down a little, about 26%. I'm not sure why that is, if what that was. So I'll have to talk to the staff to kind of get any feedback that they think the completions was about the same amount, so that didn't go down, but just the registrations. But excited that the for the kids, and we did do the new scratcher cards this year, and I think that and the staff got them into a lot of the teachers in the classroom. So I think that was something that they really liked this year. And then I wanted to talk about, I don't know if it's listed in the past program. I know we had the beach party for the the kids. One of the fun programs, and this was just a passive program that the kids had to find, was it a bear?
A lion.
The lion. So it was find the lion. And so they just had this, it used to have had a little lion that they went and hid in the children's room. And then you got, once you found it, you got it. And it
Mm.
was just amazing. And there was one of the librarians told me the other day that someone came up and they said, um, I want the lion, and she thought he was explaining a book, and he was like, no, the actual lion. Cause they did it just for a certain amount of time, but just things like that,
Yeah.
that just engage the kids to go looking and finding. So, the staff are coming up with a lot of great things, and that's just, one of them that I just kept hearing over and over, that the kids talking about, gotta go find where the lion is today, and it got moved every day. So people, for the kids who were coming back and forth, where is it today? Just all the engagement kinds of things that the staff are thinking of, is very exciting, too. And then speaking of the self-care, we have, a staff engagement committee, that we formed, and I gave them, okay, so they're planning an ice cream social celebration of summer reading, with staff. I think they scheduled it for next week. So, yeah, we have a fund to do for team building and staff engagement, and one of the food is always something that, and treat. So we've had pizza parties, and we'll have an ice cream social to celebrate the summer success and the end of the fiscal year. So
Ice cream and summer reading reminds me that at the end of one of our, or for several years, what we would do is serve ice cream to everyone at the end, and we had a big surge at one summer. And all of course, we're so tired from smoking ice cream, and we were there and it was getting darker and darker.
right. We do the individual now, so it's just handy.
Yeah.
But you can still they did take turns, because the line was very long at our end of summer reading party. Maynard was our DJ, and he played for an hour and a half, and there were people there, adults there, that didn't have kids, that came to
Just for the fun.
and yeah, to just enjoy. And so I talked to several adults that were just there. Yeah, it was for all ages, so it was exciting. Off we go. It's mid-September already, so
That's right.
And are you doing the big push for library cards? I know it's sort of I don't know if it's an ALA. thing, which
right.
is
Yeah,
big September sign up.
I know, the staff are mixed about that, the push because they feel that it's an all year thing, kind of thing, but we are continuing with our student success card program and some of the schools have already sent us the new rosters for the school students and so forth. So we kind of focused on that.
You might be covered.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was it with the report.
Well, was Melvin able to be celebrated?
Yes, yes. Yeah, we did. I know that's a hard one, but yes, happy for him, but
Was it
bittersweet.
sudden or?
Well,
Did you know? Did you have some heads up that?
yeah, I mean, he didn't tell me like months ago or whatever, but yeah, it was bittersweet, but happy for him too.
Was there context last meeting or just
Was there?
context on Melvin's retirement? I was gonna-
Oh, no, because he retired a couple weeks ago, so.
It
it
just
wasn't
not
in
his
his-
time.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
So retiring, you just have to give 2 weeks notice, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Some
I've never
do.
retired, so we
Yeah.
talked about it last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it just happened 2 weeks ago, so you wouldn't have.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
no, if we knew about it.
Yeah,
before.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I would have said something to it.
Yeah.
Cause like, was this covered? Like, that?
I think some people are just, shy about stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he knows that he will be missed.
Yes.
And is there an option to fill his big shoes or?
Yeah.
There's a process.
There's a process.
It's gonna be
Yes.
fairly extensive based on what,
Yeah.
you've mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll do a recruitment for that. I just met last week with HR. Since we have a couple vacancies, so yeah, we'll get that on the list. Yeah. So still, have who can do what kind of thing. And Joy's still out, so yeah. But juggling quite a bit.
It's fun.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we are at agenda setting.
So October, I did talk to the Friends Board, and I believe the Friends President is planning to come to the October meeting to give a report on the Friends activity in October, so. And then just that you all should have received the invitation for the celebration of the boards and commissions in October, so. I'll be at that, so hopefully for some of you who can attend. It's a good, fun event.
That's it. The meeting is adjourned at 8:15. Next Board of Library Trustees meeting will be held on Monday, October 20th, 2025 at 7 p.m.